time for another unscientific review. Not of this guy, but that one. That guy, the Mavic Air. We should probably find a better place to fly this thing. Not a good idea. Which one should I choose? That one. It is literally so warm that I need to take the shirt off. Super cool. This thing right here, it's a solar panel. You can charge your cell phone. I like that. Alright, so I know I'm a little bit late to the game, but I thought I would review the Mavic Air anyways because it's surprisingly one of the best, if not the best drone that I know of right now. As always, I like to really test something out before I can actually review it in the ideal world setting, and I've had a lot of time to test out the Mavic Air. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and who is this thing for? And FYI, I'm a little bit sick, so I'm just gonna get straight to the point. Plus I have an audience of kids watching me. It's kind of weird. Alright, let's start with the good because there's a lot of good to this drone, and I think this really is the most impressive drone that I've ever used, and a large part of that is its size. This thing is tiny. Here's my iPhone X for size comparison, iPhone 10. This drone is tiny. It's so small. And I think that this is the best asset of the Mavic Air. No longer do I have to carry around that stupid big box, that Phantom 4 Pro box. This thing is so small, it literally takes up like two lens spots in my bag, so I can carry it around anytime I want. I can take it anywhere. I never have to think, should I take my drone or not? I just stick it in my bag, it's always in there and it's always ready to go. By far the most portable drone that I know. I think it's even smaller than the Spark actually because the legs fold. It fits into such a small package. And even the controller is super small and really smart. It just fits into this nice little package. And one of the smartest things that I think they did, it's really ingenious actually, is that they put little controller arms in here, hidden in here, so that it doesn't take up more space, and then you just put them on when you're about to fly. Boom, boom, antennas, and you're good to go. It fits into such a small package, and that controller little stick thing, just so smart. I really like that kind of innovation or ingenuity. Anyways, I like it. Batteries are small, charger is small, and this charger is awesome because you can actually put 4 different batteries on here. Gone are the days where you're traveling and you're filming all day long and then you get to the hotel room and you gotta start charging up things. And then you gotta set alarm clocks to wake yourself up so that you can put different batteries charging. Yeah, gone are those days. I really like this thing. And then lastly, build-wise, it has a built-in 8GB card in here. So let's say you forget your memory card. Well, you can still record something. You can at least get 8GB worth of footage. Again, ingenious. I really like that. It probably didn't even take up that much space in here, but it's just so smart. It's a little add-on, but just makes it such a good drone. Now it's small, so how good is it to actually fly? Well, here's where it takes a little bit of a hit. It kind of feels like a Phantom 4 Pro on a beginner mode almost. It's not quite as responsive, it's not quite as zippy and all that stuff, but it flies really well. And in some cases, actually, it's kind of better that it's not so responsive and zippy and jittery because you get more smooth movement. So for beginners especially, I actually think it's a good thing that it doesn't move as fast. One of the biggest problems that beginners have with drones is that they just fly too crazy, too fast, and the shots look like garbage. So this might actually be a really good thing. With something like the Phantom 4 Pro, I actually throttled down a lot of those settings so things don't happen as fast and they're a little bit smoother, a little bit more cinematic. So it doesn't fly quite as well as the Phantom 4 Pro, but still really impressive. I actually really enjoy flying this thing around. And one thing I noticed is that the sensors are really good on this one. I was flying really low to the ground one time, just testing it out, and it just stayed at the exact height the whole time. It wasn't going up and down a little bit. I find that the Phantom 4 Pro does it way more. This is really exact, really good. So the sensors, I don't know if they're the same, different, I don't know, unscientific review, but I found this thing to be really good with the sensors and just gauging where the ground is. But yes, if you're coming from a Phantom 4 Pro, whatever, you're gonna feel a difference. It's gonna take some getting used to, so just be wary of that. Also, the Wi-Fi, this thing actually uses a Wi-Fi connection to the remote, and it's not quite as good. It's good, it works really well for the most part. There's only been a few times where it started to lose connection, and that was actually in Sweden when we were flying with Peter's Mavic Air. And what I like to do, and I don't recommend this to everybody, but I like to actually sit in the car and then just fly the drone when I'm doing kind of those car shots. And for some reason, it just kept cutting out all the time. Now, I don't know if it was because of the minus 30-degree weather or the car or what it was, but it just kept cutting out all the time, even when I was pretty close to the car. So I don't know if that's the Wi-Fi, unscientific, but those were my experiences. Under normal circumstances, though, I haven't had any issues with the Wi-Fi connection. Then there's some new intelligent flight modes, or these little presets for flying paths, and I found these to be a little bit gimmicky. I'm not super into these, but if you're a super noob with drones and you have no idea what you're doing, they can actually be pretty handy and pretty helpful. I tested them out, and here's some results. It's decent, but again, I'm rarely going to use these, if ever. Then let's talk about image quality, and this is one of the things that I was really worried about. Testing out the Spark, I didn't find that the quality was very good, and so I was kind of expecting similar quality to the Spark, but I was actually blown away by the image. I would almost say that in certain circumstances, it actually looked better than the Mavic Pro a lot of the times. It's actually a really good image. I was super surprised at this. Now, it's not a Phantom 4 Pro image, but it's a really nice one, and I would have no problems using this, even in something like a little bit more high quality epic travel film. No problems at all. Also, thanks to Polar Pro for sending me some ND filters. Just like on any other camera, you need ND filters. But look at these guys. They're so small. Tiny. Also, sorry if there's wind. I'm trying to like cover my microphone. It's not really an ideal situation, but let's go with it. Also, what I noticed is that editing with this footage, I felt like the codec was a little bit faster. I find a lot of the DJI codecs are really slow, especially in Premiere Pro. They just chug. You cannot really edit with them. You either have to convert to ProRes or just deal with the skippiness, but I found that this codec was a little bit better than something like the Phantom 4 Pro, for example. Alright, so let's talk about some of the bad sides. No camera, no drone is perfect. There's always some negatives. So what are the downsides of the Mavic Air? First off, I would say the flight not being as responsive. Now, this doesn't really matter for the footage. I find that it's actually kind of better a lot of times, like I said. But there's times where you're in a little bit of a sticky situation, or you need to brake really fast or just do some quick movements. And I find that this is where the Mavic Air kind of, it stalls out a little bit. It's not quite as fast. You have to be a little bit more careful. Give yourself some more room with objects, things. Don't get too close to things because it's not as responsive. But again, footage-wise, it doesn't actually make a difference. I think it's actually kind of a bonus. 2, the connection isn't quite as good. Like I said, it was cutting out a little bit. That was a little bit of a negative in my experience. Now, that was with an earlier firmware. I don't know if it's been fixed, those issues. I don't know if it was just the cold. I don't know what it was, but I've never had that much issues with the connection with my Phantom 4 Pro, and I've flown that in all sorts of conditions. So there is a little bit of a difference. I would put that in the negative side. 3, I had some issues with the gimbal. Now, this might have just been my version, but there was a few times where it just kind of cut out, and it almost seemed like it lost power, and it would just be flopping around, floating around, and I actually had to fly blind. I could only see straight down when I was in Maui and kind of find myself. Not too hard, but it was a bit of a pain because I was trying to get these shots, and then all of a sudden the gimbal would just cut out. And I think it was happening when I was pointing it straight down and then bringing it back up. It kind of just like messed up. I don't know what was going on. Again, I don't know if it's a firmware issue. I don't know if it's a defect in this model. I have no idea, but it was an issue that I was having. It didn't happen all the time, but it happened a couple times. So it was enough of a negative to mention, but it hasn't been happening all the time, and I'm guessing it's probably some sort of defect in this drone, actually. And then 4 is that It's so small that when it's really windy, like it's windy right now actually, it's a little bit scary to fly. I wouldn't take these into the same conditions that I would take a Phantom 4 Pro. So you have to be wary of that. Make sure you're assessing the situation. If it was really windy, I wouldn't be putting it up. I've heard of a lot of people having issues even with the Mavic Pro where they just couldn't fight the wind. They actually couldn't get back anymore to where they were because the wind was taking the drone away. So I can definitely see that happening with this one also, the Mavic Air. So that's something to think of. Now the big question, who is this drone for? When this first came out, I actually thought that this was only going to be for beginners. But now that I've tested out, I think it's actually the most versatile drone there is. I think it's great for beginners. If you've never used a drone before, this is a great option. I would definitely buy this over the DJI Spark. Really good option. If you're starting out, you've never flown a drone, really easy to fly. It's small, it's not going to take up a lot of space, it's easy to carry around, all of that stuff. Perfect for beginners. It's perfect for vloggers for a lot of those same reasons. If you're doing YouTube or vlogging, you can have this in your camera bag at all times. You never have to take it out of there because it's too big or it's taking up too much space. So YouTubers, vloggers, it's perfect. I'd say even for like the indie shooters, if you're doing like kind of smaller commercials, if you're doing corporate work, this is gonna be a great drone for you. I think the only people that this drone isn't for is if you need the highest quality. If you need really high quality, I would recommend the Phantom 4 Pro or the Inspires. And if you need to fly in just crazy situations or need a really fast drone, well then this one's not gonna be your drone. But for most of us, this is the perfect drone. This is the best drone that I can think of that's out there right now. And I would have never imagined that a drone could be this small and still have such good high quality video. Never ever. If you would have told me that in like 3 years, and I feel like I keep saying this about every single drone that comes out, but this one especially, just mind-blowing. You can literally almost fit this in your pocket and still have really high quality video. Just crazy. Now I'm still gonna keep my Phantom 4 Pro Plus. I love a lot of the things on it. It just flies really well. The image quality, the little screen that's built in. I like a lot of things. But this guy is never gonna leave my camera bag, whereas the Phantom 4 Pro, I don't actually take that thing around all the time. I only take it on really kind of epic travel things where I want the best quality video. But I would still bring this even then, just even as a backup. It takes so little space that this is a great backup drone. And even just as an A drone, your one and only drone, it's a really good option. The Mavic Air, it is my favorite drone right now. Man, I love riding this thing. It's the closest thing I've ever been to snowboarding or surfing on dry land. And Peter tried to convince me that this thing's better than the boosted board, and I tend to agree now. It's totally different. It's not as functional. It's crazy heavy. It's not good really for commuting, but for just riding around and having fun, this thing is so good. And check out how nice it is out. Everybody is walking, running around. It's just a beautiful day. Also, if you haven't realized, I'm doing live streams every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, so I'd love for you guys to just come and hang out. We kind of just do Q&A and talk about whatever, have random guests on the show. Had Peter on last Friday, and I think it's the best live stream so far, so come hang out next time. Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Alright, so Mavic Air, great drone, really like it. I'm also really curious to see what happens with the Mavic Pro 2, what it's like. I think it's going to be a really good one, so keep your eye on that one, but I think it's safe to buy the Mavic Air right now. It's a really fun drone. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Unscientific Review, and I hope you have a really good week. Why don't you just do something good today? Do something nice, make somebody smile. I really like this movement of doing good and people talking about that. So why don't you join the bandwagon and just do something good? All right, see you later, guys. Oh, almost forgot, making some progress in the office. Huh? Starting to come along. And best news of all, the acoustic guys to figure out this echo problem. they scouted the area and they should do their job pretty soon. All right, now it's time to go for real and enjoy this weather. See you guys.